The alien stood in the center of the United Nations building, and nobody knew what to say. His name was Varix, and he looked nothing like the movies predicted. He was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered blue under the lights. His eyes were too large, and he had no mouth that anyone could see. Instead, a small device on his chest spoke for him. "We are dying," the device said in perfect English. "The Kreeth are consuming everything. We need soldiers." General Katie Brooks sat at the long table with other world leaders. She had seen combat in 3 wars and never felt afraid. But looking at this alien, knowing what he represented, she felt something close to fear. Not of him, of what was coming. "Tell us about the Kreeth," she said. The alien's device hummed. "They are a swarm, billions of creatures with one mind. They eat planets. They consume all life. We have fought them for 2 years. We are losing." "How many worlds have you lost?" someone asked. 47, Varix said. 47 civilizations. Trillions of lives. The room went silent. Earth had 8 billion people. These aliens were talking about trillions. "Why come to us?" Katie asked. "We barely made it to Mars. You have ships that cross galaxies." Varix turned to look at her. Even without a real face, she could sense something in his posture. Desperation. "We have better technology," he said. "We have larger armies. We have ships that can destroy moons. But we are losing because we fight with honor. We follow rules. The Kreeth do not. They adapt. They overwhelm. They never stop. And you think we can help?" "We have studied your history," Varix said. "Your species has been at war with itself for thousands of years. You have fought in every way possible. You know things about combat that we have never considered. Things we have forbidden ourselves from considering." Katie understood then. They didn't want Earth's technology. They wanted Earth's brutality. The next week was filled with meetings. Every nation had opinions. Some wanted to send their best soldiers. Others wanted to stay out of it, completely. Katie listened to all of them and kept thinking about what Varix had said. They needed people who fought without honor, who knew how to win when losing wasn't an option. She called Commander Jake Murphy into her office. He was a short man, with gray hair and scars on his hands. He had run special operations for 20 years. "I have an idea," she said. "But you're going to hate it." "Try me," Jake said. "We don't send our best," Katie said. "We send our worst." Jake stared at her. "Explain." "We have thousands of soldiers in prison. People who crossed lines, who disobeyed orders, who killed when they shouldn't have, or destroyed what they shouldn't have touched. People who fight dirty because they don't know any other way." "You want to send criminals to represent Earth?" Jake asked. "I want to send people who can win," Katie said. "The aliens fight with rules. The Kreeth fight to kill everything. We need people in between. People who will do what's necessary." Jake was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. "I know exactly who to start with." They went to Fort Leavenworth first. The military prison held hundreds of soldiers who had committed crimes during service. Some had murdered. Some had stolen. Some had simply refused orders at the wrong time. Danny Cross was in cell block 7. He sat on his bunk reading a book when they arrived. He was 35 years old with dark hair and cold eyes. His file said he had disobeyed a direct order during a mission in Yemen. The order would have killed 200 civilians to eliminate one target. Danny had refused, completed the mission his own way, and saved the civilians. He also got his entire team killed doing it. "We have an offer," Katie said through the bars. Danny looked up. "I'm listening." "Fight in an alien war. Come back alive, and you're free. Die fighting, and at least you die free." "What's the catch?" "You'll be fighting things that want to eat humanity. And you'll be doing it alongside aliens who think war should be clean and honorable." Danny smiled for the first time. "When do we leave?" They found Maya Rodriguez in Texas. She had been an explosives expert before she blew up a building owned by a corporation that was poisoning a town's water supply. 40 people worked in that building. She waited until night when it was empty. The courts didn't care. Pete Sullivan was in Colorado, serving life for killing a general who was selling weapons to terrorists. He had taken the shot from 1,500 meters in a thunderstorm. Lisa Grant was in California. She had been a combat medic who created illegal drugs that kept soldiers fighting longer. 3 of her patients died. 30 others survived missions they shouldn't have. Chris Bennett was in Nevada. He had been a pilot who bombed his own command center after discovering his commanders were ordering strikes on civilian targets for profit. One by one, they made the offer. One by one, the prisoners accepted. In total, 147 said yes. Some wanted freedom. Some wanted to die in battle instead of prison. Some just wanted to fight again. They trained for 2 weeks. Not in how to fight. They all knew that. But in how to work together. How to operate alien weapons. How to survive in space. Verix watched them train and looked concerned. These humans moved wrong. They didn't form proper lines. They struck from shadows. They set traps and ambushes. "These are your soldiers?" he asked Katie. "No," Katie said. "These are our warriors. There's a difference." "What difference?" "Soldiers follow orders and fight with honor," Katie said. "Warriors do whatever it takes to win. You asked for help. This is what we're sending." The ship arrived on a Tuesday. It was called the Redemption, which seemed fitting. The prisoners boarded with simple gear and no expectations of glory. Danny Cross was the last to board. He turned and looked at Earth one more time. "Think we'll see it again?" Maya asked beside him. "Honestly?" Danny said. "I don't care. I'd rather die out there fighting than in here rotting." The ship lifted off, and Earth became a blue dot behind them. Ahead was a war that had already killed trillions. And Earth had just sent 147 criminals to fight it. Katie watched the ship disappear and wondered if she had just saved humanity or doomed it. Either way, the galaxy was about to learn something important. Humans don't fight fair. They never have. The Redemption docked at Coalition Station Prime 3 days later. Danny Cross was the first to step off the ship, and he immediately knew this was going to be a problem. Hundreds of alien soldiers stood in perfect formation. They wore matching armor that gleamed under the station lights. Their weapons were held at identical angles. Everything was organized, clean, and proper. Behind Danny, Pete Sullivan whispered, "We're going to give these folks a heart attack." A tall alien with 4 arms approached them. His skin was gray, and his eyes were a bright yellow. The translator device he wore crackled to life. "I am Commander Thelzar of the Coalition Defense Force. Welcome to Station Prime. You will be assigned to my unit." Danny nodded. "Good to meet you." Thelzar held out a thick datapad. "These are the rules of engagement. All Coalition forces must follow them. They cover proper conduct in warfare, treatment of enemies, acceptable weapons, and proper battle formations." Danny took the datapad and immediately handed it to Maya. "You read it. Let me know if there's anything good." Thelzar's eyes widened. "You must study these rules. They are not optional." "Look," Danny said. "We didn't come here to follow rules. We came here to win. You want your rules followed? Use your own soldiers. Warfare has rules for a reason," Thelzar said. His voice was getting louder. "Without them, we are no better than the enemy." Lisa Grant stepped forward. She was shorter than the others but had a way of making people listen. "Commander, let me ask you something. Are you winning this war?" Thelzar was quiet. "That's what I thought," Lisa said. "So maybe your rules aren't working." The first month was rough. The Coalition soldiers didn't know what to make of the humans. They didn't march in formation. They didn't maintain their equipment properly. They modified their weapons in ways that made the engineers nervous. During briefings, they asked questions that seemed rude. During meals, they sat apart and spoke in their own language. But the real shock came during the first mission. The Kreeth had attacked a mining colony called Velta 9. 3,000 workers were trapped there. The coalition assembled a standard defensive operation. They would form a perimeter around the main buildings, hold the line until evacuation was complete, then retreat in order. Danny listened to the plan and shook his head. That won't work. It is standard defensive protocol, Thelzar said. Standard protocol is why you're losing, Danny replied. Give us 12 hours before you arrive. That is not acceptable. We operate as one unit. Danny looked at his people. Maya was already pulling up maps of the colony. Pete was checking sightlines. Chris was calculating approach vectors. Fine, Danny said. Show up when you want. Just don't get in our way. The humans took a small transport ship and arrived at Velta 9 6 hours before the coalition. The colony was mostly empty, built into an asteroid with tunnels running everywhere. Perfect for an ambush. Maya went to work immediately. She took their limited explosives and spread them throughout the tunnel system. Not to kill the Kreeth directly, but to control their movement, to funnel them where she wanted them to go. Pete found the highest point in the colony and set up his rifle. From there, he could cover 3 main approaches. Chris rigged his fighter with extra missiles he wasn't supposed to have. When the coalition engineers had said no, he had simply stolen them. Lisa set up a medical station in the most protected area and started preparing for casualties. Danny walked the tunnels with a map, marking positions. The Kreeth would come in fast and hard. That was their way. They overwhelmed with numbers. But in these tight tunnels, numbers didn't matter as much. Space did. Control did. When the coalition forces arrived, they found the humans scattered throughout the colony with no apparent organization. What are you doing? Thelzar demanded over the radio. Our job, Danny said. Now take your defensive positions like you planned. We'll handle the rest. The Kreeth came 2 hours later. They didn't arrive in ships. They were the ships. Huge organic creatures that flew through space and vomited out smaller creatures when they attacked. The coalition forces opened fire with precision. Every shot was measured. Every soldier held their position. It was beautiful and organized and completely inadequate. The Kreeth just kept coming. Then Maya's explosives started going off. The first blast collapsed a tunnel, cutting off half the Kreeth advance. The second explosion vented atmosphere in a section where Kreeth were massing. The third was positioned to throw debris into another group. The Kreeth tried to adapt, moving to different tunnels. But those tunnels led to where Pete was waiting. His rifle cracked again and again. Each shot dropped a Kreeth. He targeted the bigger ones, the ones that seemed to be leading. When a group of Kreeth tried to flank using external paths on the asteroid's surface, Chris came screaming in with his fighter. He flew in ways that made the coalition pilots sick to watch, spinning and rolling between mining equipment. His missiles turned that flank into floating debris. The Kreeth that made it past all of that found Danny and 20 other humans waiting in a junction. These humans didn't stand in lines. They hid behind corners, dropped from ceiling hatches, popped up from floor grates. They fought like the tunnels were their home, and the Kreeth were invaders. Because that's what they were. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it ended, the Kreeth were gone. The workers were safe. The coalition had taken minimal casualties. But Commander Thelzar was not happy. You violated every protocol, he said to Danny afterward. You used unauthorized explosives. You modified weapons without approval. You fought without formation or coordination. We won, Danny said. You butchered them. This is not warfare. This is savagery. Lisa Grant walked up, covered in blood. She had been treating wounded coalition soldiers for the past hour. We saved your people. We completed the mission. That's what matters. The how matters, Thelzar insisted. Not to us, Lisa said. You wanted soldiers. You got humans. We don't lose pretty. We win ugly. Word spread fast through the coalition fleet. The humans didn't fight like anyone else. They used tricks and traps. They attacked from everywhere. They didn't care about honor or proper technique. They cared about winning. Some coalition soldiers were impressed. Others were horrified. But everyone agreed on one thing. Everyone. Everyone. The humans were effective. Over the next 2 months, the human contingent fought in 6 more battles. They won every single one. But their methods got worse, not better. They took enemy weapons and used them. They set ambushes that left no survivors. They fought at night when coalition forces rested. Maya started building bigger explosives. Pete stopped sleeping between missions. Chris flew his fighter until the engineers said it should have fallen apart. Danny led raids that went deeper into enemy territory than any coalition force dared. They were winning. But they were changing. And Varix, watching from his command ship, wondered if bringing humans into this war had been the right choice after all. Because the galaxy had asked for soldiers. Earth had sent something else entirely. They had sent warriors who knew only one rule: survive. Pete Sullivan hadn't slept in 3 days. He sat in the observation deck of the Redemption, staring out at the stars with his rifle across his lap. His hands shook slightly. Not from fear. From the stimulants Lisa had given him to stay alert. "You need to rest," Maya said, sitting down beside him. "Can't," Pete said. "Every time I close my eyes, I see them." "The Kreth?" "No. The ones I've killed. I count them. 312 now. I counted every single one." Maya was quiet. She understood. She had started counting her explosions too. Each one bigger than the last. Each one more devastating. She told herself it was necessary. But late at night, she wondered when necessary had become excessive. The Kreth were learning too. They studied the humans and found their weakness. Not in tactics or weapons, but in psychology. It started after a battle on a supply station. The humans had won, like always. But when they searched the wreckage, they found something horrible. The Kreth had captured 3 coalition soldiers weeks earlier. They had kept them alive and made recordings. Screams, pleas for help, torture. Then they broadcast those recordings during the next battle. The coalition soldiers froze. Some dropped their weapons. Others retreated. The sounds of their own people being tortured broke their discipline. But the humans reacted differently. They got angry. Danny led a raid the next night that wasn't on any mission plan. He took 30 humans deep into Kreth territory. They found a Kreth outpost and burned it to the ground. No prisoners. No mercy. When the coalition found out, Thelzar confronted Danny. "That raid was not authorized," the commander said. "Don't care," Danny replied. "You killed Kreth that were not actively fighting. Some were injured. Some were in medical areas. They tortured our allies," Danny said. "They needed to learn there are consequences. This is not justice. This is revenge." Danny stepped closer. "Call it whatever makes you feel better. But those Kreth won't torture anyone else." The raids continued. The humans stopped waiting for orders. They hunted. Chris started using ramming attacks with his fighter, sacrificing the ship to take out larger Kreth vessels. He survived each time, but barely. Maya's explosives became works of destruction, designed not just to kill, but to terrify. The Kreth learned to fear certain tunnels, certain approaches, not because of the danger, but because of what the humans left behind. The coalition soldiers started calling the humans the ghosts. They appeared without warning, killed without hesitation, and vanished before anyone could respond. But Dr. Yelma, the coalition's head psychologist, was worried. She sent a message to Earth, directly to General Katie Brooks. "Your people are breaking," the message said. "Not from trauma or fear, but from becoming what they fight. They are losing themselves in the violence. If this continues, you will get back warriors who cannot stop fighting." Katie read the message 3 times. Then, she sent one back. "We sent people who were already broken. We're just pointing them at the enemy. Can you keep them focused on the right targets? I will try, Dr. Yelma replied. But I fear we are creating something worse than the Kreth. The moment of truth came at Krandor. It was a fortress world, one of the last coalition strongholds in the Outer Rim. The Kreth had been trying to take it for months. When the humans arrived, they were sent to clear out a Kreth-held section of the underground fortress. The fighting was brutal. Close quarters, dark tunnels. The Kreth had learned to fight like humans now, using ambushes and traps. It took 2 days to clear the section. On the third day, they found the nursery. It was a huge cavern filled with pods. Inside each pod was a Kreth larvae. Thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. The next generation of the enemy. Danny stood at the entrance with a flamethrower. Behind him, the other humans gathered. Nobody spoke. They all knew what standard procedure was. The coalition had rules about non-combatants, but these weren't non-combatants. These were future Kreth, future enemies. Light them up, Pete said quietly. Danny raised the flamethrower. His finger touched the trigger. Wait, Lisa said. Everyone turned to look at her. She stepped forward, looking at the pods. Inside, the larvae moved slowly. They looked nothing like the adult Kreth. They looked almost peaceful. These aren't soldiers, Lisa said. They will be, Maya replied. But they're not now. Innocent? Pete laughed, but there was no humor in it. These things will grow up to eat planets. To kill trillions. Maybe, Lisa said. Or maybe, if we show mercy now, we prove we're better than them. We're not better, Danny said quietly. We're criminals, killers. We crossed every line a long time ago. Then maybe it's time we uncross one, Lisa said. The silence stretched. Danny's hand shook on the flamethrower. It would be so easy. One squeeze, and it would all be over. These larvae would never grow up to kill coalition soldiers, never attack colonies, never torture prisoners, but they also would never choose to do those things. They hadn't chosen anything yet. Danny lowered the weapon. We tell the coalition about this, he said. Let them decide. We're not making this call. They sealed the cavern and reported it. The coalition sent specialists who studied the larvae. Some wanted to destroy them. Others wanted to study them. In the end, they moved them to a secure facility for research. Commander Thelzar approached Danny that night. The alien looked different somehow. Less rigid. I heard what happened in the nursery, he said. Yeah, you could have killed them all. We would have known, Danny said. I have misjudged you, Thelzar said. I thought you were monsters who knew only violence. But you are something more complicated. You are warriors who choose when to fight and when to show mercy. Don't make us into heroes, Danny said. We're still killers, still criminals. We just decided there had to be a line somewhere. That line is what separates us from the Kreth, Thelzar said. After he left, Lisa sat down next to Danny. That was hard, she said. Yeah, but necessary. Was it? Danny asked. We could have ended a generation of Kreth, saved lives down the road. Danny, maybe. Or maybe we would have proven the Kreth right. That this is just about survival. Kill or be killed. If we had burned those larvae, what would make us different from them? Danny thought about that. He had been a soldier once, before he was a criminal. He had believed in right and wrong. Then, he made a choice that got his team killed. After that, everything seemed gray. But looking at those pods, at those unborn enemies, something had felt different. I don't know if we're good people, he said finally. Probably not, Lisa agreed. But maybe we can still do good things. Sometimes. The next day, the war continued. The humans went back to their brutal tactics, their ambushes and tricks. But something had changed. They fought hard. But they also paid attention to the small choices, the moments where they could show mercy or restraint. They were still warriors, still dangerous, still feared, but they were also still human, and that meant something. The discovery came from an unlikely source. A coalition science vessel scanning deep space found something strange, an energy signature that didn't match any known Kreeth pattern. Bigger, more complex, more organized. They called it the Queen Ship. The briefing room was packed when Varix explained it. Every commander, every captain, every strategist in the coalition fleet was present. The humans stood in the back, as usual. The Kreeth are not truly a hive mind, Varix said. A hologram appeared showing a massive organic structure floating in space. It was easily 10 times larger than any Kreeth ship they had seen. They are coordinated by this vessel. It contains the prime consciousness, the Queen. Without it, the Kreeth will lose all organization. So we destroy it and the war is over? Someone asked. In theory, yes. But it is located here. The hologram shifted, showing a sector of space, deep in Kreeth-controlled territory. Thousands of enemy ships surrounded it. No fleet could reach it. Any attempt would be destroyed. Before getting close. Groom leaded, no. Marx's whined. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. They had found the enemy's weakness, and it was completely unreachable. What about a small strike force? Danny asked from the back. Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Varix said. A big fleet draws attention, but a single ship, modified for stealth, might slip through, hit the Queen and get out before they know what happened. The odds of survival would be minimal, Varix said. So? Danny replied. What are the odds of survival if we don't try? How many more planets will the Kreeth consume while we play it safe? Thelzar stood up. Even if we could modify a ship for such stealth, who would pilot it? This would be a suicide mission. Danny looked at his people. Maya met his eyes and nodded. Pete did the same. Lisa gave a small smile. Chris just shrugged. We'll do it, Danny said. You cannot be serious. Varix said. We're already dead, Maya spoke up. Our sentences were life in prison. Whether we die in a cell or in space, dead is dead. Might as well make it count. I must object, Thelzar said, but his voice was uncertain. Asking anyone to undertake such a mission is unconscionable. You're not asking, Danny said. We're volunteering. The debate raged for hours. Some coalition leaders thought it was their best chance. Others called it murder to send anyone on such a mission. But in the end, the decision was simple. Either they tried this or they kept losing the war slowly. The redemption was stripped down and rebuilt. Coalition engineers installed the best stealth technology they had. It wasn't perfect. Nothing could hide completely from the Kreeth, but it might buy them enough time. The humans trained for 2 weeks. They studied Kreeth ship patterns, learned every detail of the Queen ship's structure, practiced the approach, run until they could do it in their sleep. The night before launch, Commander Thelzar came to the redemption. He found Danny in the cargo bay, checking weapons. I am coming with you, the commander said. Danny looked up. What? You heard me. That's stupid. You have command responsibilities. You're needed here, and you need someone who understands coalition technology. Someone who can interface with systems you cannot. You'll die, Danny said flatly. Perhaps. But I have watched you fight this entire war. You humans do terrible things, but you do them for good reasons. If this is to be my last battle, I want it to be alongside warriors who understand what they're fighting for. Danny studied the alien. 6 months ago, Thelzar had hated them, called them savages. Now here he stood, volunteering for suicide. You're either brave or crazy, Danny said. Is there a difference? Other volunteers came too. A coalition pilot named Kex who had flown with Chris and learned his aggressive style. A medic named Sorrel who had worked with Lisa. A weapons specialist named Ven who Maya had trained in explosives. A dozen others. All volunteers. All knowing they probably wouldn't return. The Redemption launched on a Wednesday morning, coalition time. Earth didn't have a morning or night anymore for the humans, but they kept the habit. It felt important somehow. The journey took 4 days of continuous flight through Kreth space. They moved slowly, carefully, using every trick they had learned. The stealth systems worked better than expected, but they still had to avoid several Kreth patrols. Chris piloted with a precision that impressed even Kex. He threaded the ship through asteroid fields and debris clouds, using every piece of cover available. When they had to cross open space, he timed it perfectly between patrol routes. On the second day, they were spotted. A Kreth scout ship detected them and moved to investigate. Pete took position in the Redemption's gun turret and eliminated it with a single shot before it could send a warning. They dumped the wreckage in a nebula and kept moving. On the third day, Maya started preparing the explosives. She had something special planned, a device so powerful that most civilizations had banned it. Varix had given her the components without saying where they came from. Some lines, even the coalition, crossed when necessary. Lisa checked everyone's health constantly. They were all running on stimulants and determination now. The stress was enormous. Pete hadn't slept since they launched. Danny's hands had started shaking. But they kept going. On the fourth day, they found it. The Queen ship hung in space like a tumor. It pulsed with a sickly light, and smaller Kreth ships swarmed around it like flies. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. That's impossible, Kex said quietly. We cannot reach it through that many ships. We don't have to reach it, Maya said. She pulled up a tactical display. We just need to get close enough. I can set this explosive on a timer and launch it. It'll drift in while we run. That won't work, Ven said. Their defenses will destroy anything we launch. Not if we make them think it's debris, Chris said, catching on. We take damage. Lose a piece of hull with the bomb attached. It floats in with all the other wreckage. And to make that convincing, Danny said slowly, we have to actually take damage. Real damage. Everyone went quiet. That meant flying directly at the Kreth fleet. Taking hits. Maybe fatal ones. There's no other way, Lisa said. If we want this to work, we have to sell it. All right, Danny said. Load the bomb into a hull panel. Chris, plot us an attack run that gets close enough to deploy it. Make it look like we're trying for a kamikaze run. That's not far from the truth, Chris muttered. They spent 6 hours preparing. Maya attached her explosive to an external hull panel, rigging it to detach on command. The bomb had a 30-minute timer. That was their escape window. Get in, deploy, get 30 minutes away before everything exploded. What if we don't make it 30 minutes out? Pete asked. Then the blast kills us too, Maya said. But at least we take the Queen with us. Thelzar approached Danny one last time before they began the attack. I want you to know, the commander said, that serving with you has changed my understanding of warfare, of honor. I thought battles should be clean, noble, but you showed me that sometimes survival requires getting dirty. Sometimes, honor means doing dishonorable things for the right reasons. We're still criminals, Danny said. Perhaps, but today, you are also heroes. Don't call us that until we pull this off. Chris took the controls. The Redemption powered up fully for the first time in days. Every system came online. Every weapon loaded. Everybody ready? Danny asked, over the ship's intercom. A chorus of affirmatives came back. Then let's go kill a queen. The Redemption shot forward, directly at the heart of the Kreth swarm. Alarms blared immediately as hundreds of enemy ships turned to face them. The battle for the Queen ship had begun. The first wave of Kreth ships hit them within seconds. Chris rolled the Redemption hard, dodging plasma fire that melted space where they had just been. The hull shook as impacts landed. Alarms screamed, but they were still flying. We need more damage on the port side, Maya yelled. Where the bomb is attached, make it look real. Working on it, Chris shouted back, steering into another volley. Plasma burned through the port hull. The entire ship shuddered. That good enough? Perfect. Get us closer. Pete was in the gun turret, firing constantly. He didn't aim for kills anymore, just suppression. Keeping the Kreth from overwhelming them, his rifle cracked again and again until the barrel started glowing. Lisa strapped herself into the medical bay as the ship bucked and rolled. 3 coalition volunteers were already injured from the first impacts. She worked on them while holding onto the operating table with one hand. 30 seconds to deployment range, Chris called out. Danny stood at the command console with Thelzar. They watched the tactical display as hundreds of red dots swarmed toward them. The Queen ship was directly ahead now. Massive and pulsing. The hull panel is ready to detach, Maya reported from engineering. Timer set for 30 minutes. Once I release it, we have exactly that long to get clear. Do it, Danny ordered. The hull panel exploded outward, tumbling into space. To the Kreth, it looked like battle damage. Debris from a dying ship. The panel drifted toward the Queen ship with dozens of other pieces of wreckage, and the bomb hidden inside it. We're clear. Go, Maya yelled. Chris threw the Redemption into a hard turn. The ship protested, metal screaming. But it turned. They accelerated away from the Queen ship as fast as the damaged engines would allow. The Kreth pursued. They weren't stupid. They knew this had been an attack run, even if they didn't know what kind. 50 Kreth ships chased the Redemption. Faster, Danny said. I'm giving you everything she's got, Chris replied through gritted teeth. Pete abandoned the gun turret and grabbed a rifle. Several Kreth had managed to attach to the hull and were burning through. He moved through the ship, shooting anything that breached. Behind him, Sorrel the Coalition medic did the same with a smaller weapon. 20 minutes on the timer, Maya announced. They weren't far enough, not even close. The blast radius would catch them easily. We need more speed, Thelzar said. Then we need less weight, Chris replied. Maya, can you vent the cargo bay? Drop everything not bolted down? On it. The cargo bay doors opened, and everything loose was sucked into space. Tools, supplies, extra weapons, all of it tumbling behind them. Some of it hit pursuing Kreth ships. It bought them 2 more minutes of distance. 15 minutes, Maya called. Lisa finished with the wounded and moved to help Pete seal breaches. The Kreth were everywhere now. They had figured out the Redemption was running and wanted to stop it before it escaped. 10 minutes. The engines were overheating. Chris could see the temperature gauges climbing into dangerous ranges. If they pushed much harder, the engines would explode. But if they didn't push harder, the bomb would kill them instead. How far do we need to be? Danny asked. At least twice our current distance, Thelzar said, calculating. We will not make it. Yes, we will, Chris said. He redirected power from life support to the engines. The temperature dropped a few degrees as oxygen generation stopped. They had maybe 20 minutes of air now, but they were faster. 5 minutes. They were still too close. Danny could see it on the display. Even with the extra speed, they would be inside the blast radius when the bomb detonated. I can modify the timer, Maya said quietly. Give us more time. Do it, Danny ordered. Maya ran to the nearest access panel. But when she pulled it open, she saw the problem. The panel they had launched was too far now. Out of communication range. There was no way to change the timer remotely. I can't reach it, she said. Nobody spoke for a moment. The only sound was alarms and the grinding of damaged engines. Then we die, Pete said simply. No, Lisa said. She had an idea. A terrible one. Chris, can you angle the ship to put more mass between us and the blast? Maybe. But it won't be enough. It doesn't have to block everything, just most of it. 2 minutes, Maya said. Chris started adjusting their position. The pursuing Kreth ships were still following, but they had stopped firing. Maybe they sensed something was wrong. Maybe they realized the redemption was running from something worse than them. 1 minute. Everyone get to the most shielded area, Danny ordered. Interior rooms, away from the hull. Now. They scrambled. The wounded were dragged into a storage closet. Lisa, Maya, and Sorrel squeezed in with them. Pete and Ven found an equipment locker. Danny, Chris, Thelzar, and Kex stayed on the bridge because someone needed to pilot. 30 seconds. Chris had turned the ship as much as he could. The heaviest armor was now between them and where the Queen ship was. It might help. It might not. 10 seconds. The Kreth pursuing them suddenly veered away. They felt it. The Queen's distress. 5. Danny grabbed onto the command console and held tight. The explosion was silent in space, but devastating. The Queen ship tore apart from the inside as Maya's bomb converted matter to energy in a catastrophic chain reaction. The blast wave expanded at a significant fraction of light speed. It hit the redemption like a hammer. Everything went white. The ship tumbled end over end. Metal screamed and tore. Systems failed. Danny felt himself thrown against the wall. He heard Chris yell. Then, nothing. When consciousness returned, Danny was floating. Zero gravity. The ship's gravity generators were dead. Emergency lights flickered in red. Sound off, he croaked into the intercom. Medical bay alive, Lisa responded. 3 wounded, but stable. Engineering here, Maya said. I'm okay. Gun decks reporting. Pete's voice came. Ven's, unconscious, but breathing. Bridge crew, Danny called. Chris? Thelzar? Kex answered. Commander Thelzar is injured but alive. Chris is. There was a pause. Chris is badly hurt. He needs medical attention. Lisa was already moving, pulling herself through zero gravity to reach the bridge. When she got there, she found Chris pinned under a collapsed console. His leg was crushed, and he was bleeding badly. Hey, Doc, Chris said weakly. Still alive. Stay that way, Lisa ordered, working to free him. It took 3 hours to stabilize the ship enough to move. Chris survived, but just barely. Thelzar had a broken arm. Ven had a concussion. 2 coalition volunteers died during the blast. Their bodies were left in the damaged medical bay because moving them would have meant opening hull breaches, but they were alive. And behind them, the Queen ship was gone. The Kreth swarm, suddenly without coordination, tore itself apart. Some attacked each other. Some fled into deep space. Some simply stopped moving and drifted. In 3 days, the entire Kreth threat was gone. Not defeated in battle, but broken by the loss of their queen. The war was over. The redemption limped back to coalition space on emergency power. It took 2 weeks. When they finally docked, they found a fleet waiting to greet them. Thousands of ships. Millions of beings. Heroes. They called the human crew. Saviors. Danny stepped off the ship and wanted to tell them they were wrong. They weren't heroes. They were criminals who got lucky. But Thelzar put a hand on his shoulder. Let them celebrate, the commander said. You earned this. The coalition debated for weeks about what to do with the humans. They had violated treaties, broken rules, done things that would be considered war crimes in any other context. But they had also ended the war. Finally, Verix came to the redemption with the decision. Full pardons for everyone, he said. Your sentences are erased. Additionally, the coalition offers you citizenship, positions in our military, and honors from every member world. Danny looked at his people. Pete with his haunted eyes, Maya with her scarred hands, Lisa, who had seen too much death, Chris in a wheelchair now, his leg gone. We appreciate it, Danny said. But we're going home. You are certain? Yeah. Earth is the only place that understands what we are. They arrived home 3 months later. Earth prepared a parade. Medals were designed, speeches written. Pete spoke for the group. No parades, no medals. We did terrible things for a good reason. That doesn't make us heroes. It makes us people who were willing to get dirty so others could stay clean. General Katie Brooks met them privately. The galaxy thinks you're heroes. The galaxy doesn't know what we did, Danny replied. Not really. They saw the victories, not the methods. Does that bother you? Yeah. But we're used to living with things that bother us. The human contingent dispersed. Some tried to return to normal life. Some couldn't. Pete took a job training snipers, but had nightmares every night. Maya went back to school to study engineering, channeling destruction into creation. Chris learned to walk with a prosthetic and started teaching pilots. Lisa opened a clinic for soldiers with trauma. Danny became an instructor for a new coalition program, teaching their soldiers how to fight like humans, how to do what's necessary, even when it's hard. They stayed in contact. Once a year, they met at a quiet bar outside Houston. They didn't talk about the war. They didn't need to. They had lived it together. 5 years later, new reports came from the Outer Rim. A different threat. Something worse than the Kreeth. The coalition sent diplomatic envoys and defensive fleets. They tried negotiation and proper warfare. On Earth, General Katie Brooks quietly started reviewing prisoner files again. The galaxy had learned something important. Humans don't fight like other species because humans have been fighting themselves for thousands of years. They know war in ways civilized species never wanted to learn. The galaxy asked for soldiers once. Earth sent warriors. The warriors they dreaded most, and when those warriors came home, they remained what they had always been. Not heroes. Not monsters. Just humans who understood that sometimes good people have to do bad things. And they lived with that knowledge every day, because that's what warriors do. They carry the weight, so others don't have to. That's what makes them human.